My life feels like a house of cards that just got hit by a tornado. I am still standing in the wreckage trying to figure out which way is up. Because everything I thought I knew about my wife of 7 years turned out to be a lie. I met Sarah in college and she was always the cautious one with money, while I was the one who wanted to spend on trips and dinners. So, when we got married, we agreed she would handle the finances. For years, everything seemed fine, and we had a joint savings account for a down payment on a house, and we were contributing to it aggressively every month, or so I thought. About 2 years ago, Sarah told me she wanted to quit her corporate job to pursue content creation because she said she had a knack for lifestyle blogging, and she showed me some Instagram pages she claimed were hers that had decent followings. I wanted to be a supportive husband, so I agreed to cover all the household bills while she got her business off the ground. She told me it would be tight, but if we budgeted, we could make it work. I took on extra shifts at the hospital and even started doing some consulting work on the weekends to make sure we stayed on track for the house. She would spend hours in her office editing and engaging with followers. And whenever I asked how it was going, she would say it was slow growth but promising. Fast forward to last week when my truck broke down, and the mechanic told me the transmission was shot and it would cost $4,000 to fix. I knew things were tight with her not bringing in a steady paycheck yet. But I figured we could dip into the house fund just this once since it was an emergency. I didn't want to stress her out, so I logged into our bank account to transfer the money myself, which is something I haven't done in probably 3 years since she handles everything. I tried my password and it didn't work, which was weird, so I reset it. When I finally got in, my stomach dropped. The savings account that should have had nearly $80,000 in it had $42. I thought maybe she moved it to a high-yield account, so I frantically searched through the transaction history, and that is when I saw it. Hundreds of transfers to sites I didn't recognize at first like Betman, DraftKings, and Slotzl. Along with huge cash withdrawals at local casinos, I felt like I was going to throw up right there. In the living room, I scrolled back and realized this started 6 months after she quit her job. She wasn't an influencer, she was a gambler. I went into her office, which she usually keeps locked, but she had forgotten to lock it that day, and I opened her laptop. It was all there. Online poker rooms open in multiple tabs, spreadsheets tracking wins and losses, and credit card debt I didn't even know existed. She had opened 3 credit cards in my name and maxed them all out. I sat there in the dark for 3 hours until she came home from meeting a sponsor, which I now knew was probably just a trip to the casino. When she walked in and saw me sitting at her desk, her face went completely pale. She tried to run to me and say she could explain, but I just held up the bank statement. She broke down crying, saying it started as just a way to make extra money to help with the house fund because she felt guilty about not contributing, but then she lost a little and tried to win it back and it spiraled out of control. She begged me not to leave her and said she would go to therapy and get help, but the trust was completely gone. I asked her how much debt we were actually in, and she wouldn't answer me until I threatened to call the police for fraud regarding the credit cards in my name. She finally whispered that between the drained savings and the credit cards and a personal loan she took out, we were in the hole for about $150,000. I packed a bag that night and went to my brother's house. I have spent the last week talking to lawyers and forensic accountants to see if I can separate myself from the debt she racked up in my name, but it is looking like I might have to file for bankruptcy. I worked 80-hour weeks for years to build that future for us, and she gambled it all away while pretending to be editing videos in the next room. I filed for divorce this morning, and I don't think I will ever be able to trust anyone with money ever again.